Welcome to today's Buddha's past life story, the story of the needle, the Suchi Jataka. Today we will explore an ancient tale full of meaning about a talented blacksmith and a magical needle. But don't be quick to think this is just a simple story. Hidden behind the captivating plot are profound lessons about wisdom, patience, and the power of faith. Let's listen and discover how a tiny needle can change a person's life, and more importantly, what valuable lessons we can apply to our modern lives today. On a quiet afternoon at Jetavana Monastery, pale golden sunlight filtered through the canopy of leaves, creating shimmering patches of light on the ground. The melodious chirping of birds blended with the rhythmic chanting of the monks, creating a peaceful, serene atmosphere. The Buddha, with compassionate eyes and a gentle smile, sat on the lotus throne, surrounded by hundreds of disciples listening attentively. He began to tell a story about the attainment of supreme wisdom, his voice deep and steady like a cool, refreshing stream. He reminded the disciples that this story was related to the Mahaumaga Jataka, a tale he would narrate in more detail in the future. The Buddha looked around at the monks, his gaze resting on each eager face. With an inspiring voice, he said, "O bhikkhus, do you know that this is not the first time the Tathagata has demonstrated supreme wisdom and skillful use of expedient means?" His words were like a gentle breeze, sweeping through the minds of everyone, stirring curiosity and a thirst for knowledge. Then, with eyes that seemed to peer through the mists of time, the Buddha began to recount a story from the distant past. His voice deepened, as if guiding the minds of the disciples back to a time long gone, where lessons of wisdom and skillful means would be revealed through specific situations and characters. Long ago, in a far-off kingdom called Benares, during the reign of King Brahmadatta, a young man was born into a poor blacksmith family in the land of Kasi. Despite difficult circumstances, this young man, who was the Bodhisattva, worked tirelessly and became a skilled blacksmith, with dexterous hands and extraordinary creative mind. Not far from where the Bodhisattva lived, there was another village with over 1,000 families of blacksmiths. The head of this village was a master blacksmith favored by the king, wealthy and powerful. He had a daughter of extraordinary beauty, with looks akin to a celestial maiden descended to earth. She possessed all the beauty and noble qualities of a lady of high standing, causing anyone who saw her to be filled with admiration and awe. The fame of her beauty spread far and wide, carried by the footsteps of blacksmiths from all over who came to the village to forge swords, axes, plowshares, and spears. They brought not only items to be forged, but also praises of the beautiful daughter of the master blacksmith. These rumors reached the ears of the Bodhisattva, causing his heart to stir powerfully. The Bodhisattva, though he had never met her, felt captivated and determined. "I must marry her as my wife." With unwavering will and extraordinary talent, he began to plan. He selected the finest iron ingots, using all his mind and skill to create a masterpiece, an exceptionally special needle. This needle was not only sturdy and slender, but also capable of piercing through a dye and floating on water. But the Bodhisattva didn't stop there. With ingenuity and creativity, he continued to craft a sheath for the needle, also made of iron and capable of piercing through a dye. He repeated this process 7 times, creating 7 layers of needle sheaths nested within each other, each layer as exquisite and marvelous as the needle itself. The method of crafting these needle sheaths remained a secret, a testament to the Bodhisattva's supreme wisdom. After completing the work, he carefully placed the needle into the tube, then put the tube into an exquisite box. With this marvelous gift, the Bodhisattva set out towards the village of the master blacksmith, his heart pounding with hope and determination. Upon arrival, the Bodhisattva inquired about the way to the master blacksmith's house. Standing before the house of the master blacksmith, the Bodhisattva took a deep breath, feeling the excited beating of his heart. With a voice as deep and resonant as a bronze bell, he began to speak. "This needle, as delicate as a heavenly thread, yet as sturdy as tempered steel. Light glistens on its body, as if bathed in the light of the full moon. Its sharp point can pierce through the finest silk without damaging a single thread. To all who seek a masterpiece, come hither, for this needle awaits its worthy owner." The Bodhisattva's praise echoed through the air, like a love poem sent to the beautiful daughter of the master blacksmith. He continued, his voice growing even more passionate. This needle is not merely a tool, but a work of art. Its body is perfectly round, flawless down to the smallest detail. The strength hidden within can pierce through metal, yet it retains its elegance and grace. Who can resist the allure of such a masterpiece? Come, all you souls who love beauty. While the Bodhisattva was engrossed in his proclamation, the beautiful daughter of the master blacksmith was gently fanning her father on a bamboo bed. The peaceful atmosphere of the summer afternoon was suddenly disrupted by the honey-sweet voice of the strange young man. The sound crept into her ears, causing her body to feel an unusual discomfort. She felt as if a piece of raw meat was stuck in her throat, and a wave of nausea rose so intensely that she thought it would take 1,000 pots of water to soothe the sensation. The girl's mind was flooded with questions. She mused to herself, her inner voice full of curiosity and confusion. Who could bring such a sweet voice to a blacksmith village like this? Doesn't he know that this is a place for producing needles, not for selling them? What is this person's true purpose? There must be something unusual about this. I must find out what's going on. With that determination, she gently put down the palm leaf fan, careful not to wake her sleeping father. She stepped outside, her heart beating faster with each step. Standing in the corridor, she could see the stranger more clearly. Although they had never met before, she had a strange feeling that this encounter was destined. She didn't know that it was because of her that the Bodhisattva had traveled so far to this village. The girl took a deep breath to gather courage, then spoke with a tone that was both curious and challenging. Hey you, perhaps you don't know, but people from all over come to our village to buy needles and similar items. Your act of bringing needles here to sell is truly bizarre, even foolish. Even if you praise your needle all day long, I'm afraid no one will even glance at it. If you really want to sell your goods at a good price, why don't you try your luck in another village? The beautiful girl, with a voice as sweet as honey, but words as sharp as a blade, replied to the Bodhisattva. Strange young man, do you know that our village is famous throughout the region for needle making? From village to village, everyone knows of our craftsmanship. Haven't you heard of our reputation? Or are you too confident in your own skills? It's laughable that you bring needles here to sell. It's like bringing firewood to the forest. She looked at the young man with a mixture of challenge and curiosity in her eyes, then continued. Our blacksmithing craft has been passed down from generation to generation, refined to a level that no one can match. Each needle, each tool is the crystallization of years of experience and dedication. Yet you, a stranger, dare to bring needles here to sell? What a preposterous idea. The Bodhisattva listened to the girl's sarcastic words, but remained unfazed. On the contrary, his eyes lit up with confidence, and a slight smile appeared on his lips. He replied, his voice calm but full of determination. Beautiful lady, you say that because you don't fully understand. Indeed, there are blacksmiths all over the city, but only those truly skilled dare to bring needles here to sell. I am not someone who doesn't know his place, but a person confident in his own talents. He moved closer to the girl, his eyes burning like fire. My lady, what I hold in my hands is the product of a master of the needle craft. This is not just an ordinary needle, but a masterpiece, a one-of-a-kind item. If you don't believe me, see for yourself, lest you regret it later. The Bodhisattva paused for a moment, as if to let his words sink into the girl's mind. Then he continued, his voice deepening with meaning. And listen carefully, my lady. Once your esteemed father learns that this needle was made by my own hands, I am certain he will recognize its value. And when that happens, not only his fortune and property, but perhaps even your hand might be given to me. The Bodhisattva's words were both challenging and contained a subtle declaration of love. The beautiful girl, though still doubtful, couldn't help but be attracted by the confidence and talent of this strange young man. In the quiet space of the blacksmith village, the sound of hammers striking iron and steel had temporarily ceased, giving way to a mysterious dialogue. The head blacksmith, with his keen ears trained over decades to listen to the sounds of metal, suddenly caught an unfamiliar melody, the voice of a stranger talking to his daughter. He closed his eyes, focusing on each tone, each intonation. There was something in the young man's voice that stirred his heart. It wasn't just the confidence typically seen in wanderers, but it also contained a deep mystery, as if this young man was carrying some great secret. His eyes suddenly lit up, like the flame in the forge that had just been fanned. With a deep, warm voice full of authority, he called to his daughter. "My dear, I hear a stranger's voice. Who are you talking to?" The girl entered, her cheeks flushed like crystal heated in a furnace, her eyes sparkling like tiny sparks just thrown from hot iron. She replied, her voice slightly trembling, "Father, it's a young man who has come to sell needles. But Father, he's very different." The father, with his keen intuition honed through thousands of forgings, sensed something special. It was as if a strange breeze had just blown through the room, carrying the scent of an adventure about to begin. He gently said, his voice like freshly tempered metal, "Is that so? Invite the young man in here, my daughter." The girl stepped out, her heart beating faster, like the sound of a hammer striking an anvil on the busiest days. She approached the bodhisattva, feeling a strange attraction, as if he were a powerful magnet. With a voice as gentle as a breeze through a doorway, she said, "Please come in. My father wishes to see you." The bodhisattva, with the composure and confidence of a long-time master of the craft, entered the room. Each of his steps seemed to carry the weight of knowledge and experience. His eyes shone in a strange way, as if containing an entire sky of wisdom, as deep and vast as the ocean. He bowed respectfully to the master blacksmith, a simple gesture but one that contained deep respect. When the bodhisattva stood up straight, the entire room seemed to shrink before his majestic presence. The space suddenly became solemn, as if an invisible energy was spreading, causing everyone in the room to feel a subtle change in the atmosphere. It was a moment when the boundary between reality and legend became blurred, signaling the beginning of an extraordinary story about to be told. The master blacksmith, with sharp eyes that had been through thousands of trials of fire and iron, looked the young man up and down. He spoke, his voice deep and warm but full of challenge. "Young man, where is your hometown?" The bodhisattva, with a voice as clear as a ringing bell, replied, "Honorable sir, this humble one was born and raised in a village not far from here. My family has been in the blacksmith trade for many generations, and I have been fortunate to inherit our ancestral secrets." The master blacksmith, with eyes sparkling with curiosity, continued to ask, "What brings you to our village?" The bodhisattva, with a gentle but confident smile, replied, "Honorable sir, I have come here to introduce and sell the needles I have crafted with my own hands. I believe they can bring value to your village." The master blacksmith, with growing interest, said, "Interesting indeed. Come, let me see these needles of yours." The bodhisattva, his eyes gleaming like the fire in a forge, gently said, "Honorable sir, I am deeply honored to present them. However, I have a small suggestion. Doesn't a work of art shine brighter when admired by many? So if you don't mind, perhaps we should invite other skilled craftsmen to view it as well, so they too can evaluate and learn." The master blacksmith, with a satisfied smile spreading across his aged but wise face, nodded in approval. His eyes lit up, as if he had just seen a new spark in his long-standing profession. "Well, you speak truly. What a brilliant idea. Your wisdom lies not only in your skilled hands, but also in this clever mind of yours." He clapped his hands, the sound echoing in the room like a hammer striking an anvil. In no time, the room became crowded and noisy like a broken beehive. The most talented blacksmiths in the village flocked in, bringing with them the familiar smell of iron and steel and curious, eager eyes. The murmur of discussions mingled with laughter and chatter, creating a lively, exciting atmosphere. The head blacksmith, now standing amidst the crowd like a general among his troops, addressed the bodhisattva. His voice rang out, full of authority yet tinged with curiosity. "Come, young man, show us your talent. We are eager to witness the skill of a young master." The bodhisattva, with a face as solemn as a warrior before an important battle, yet with eyes gleaming with pride and a hint of mischief, gently replied, "Honorable sir, to present this in the most complete manner, I require a few tools. Please allow me to use an anvil, a symbol of strength and durability, and a copper dish filled with water, representing softness and flexibility. With these two, I will show you the perfect combination of hard and soft, of of strength and delicacy. The request was granted immediately, as if everyone was eager to witness a magic show. As the crowd waited in anticipation, the atmosphere tense enough to cut with a knife, the Bodhisattva slowly opened the small, exquisite box he had brought with him. The box, though tiny, seemed to contain an entire world of secrets. With gentle and graceful movements like an artist performing on stage, he took out a tiny object, barely visible to the naked eye. Everyone in the room, from the most experienced craftsmen to the young apprentices, had to strain their eyes to see clearly. The room suddenly became eerily quiet, with only the soft breathing of people holding their breath in anticipation. The head blacksmith, with his keen eyes honed through thousands of forgings, squinted at the tiny object in his hand. The wrinkles on his forehead deepened, as if trying to read a mysterious book. His voice lowered, full of doubt. "Young man, is this your needle? I have never seen anything so exquisite." The Bodhisattva, with a mysterious smile like moonlight behind clouds, gently replied. His voice was clear like the sound of a temple bell echoing from afar. "Honorable sir, what you hold in your hand is not yet the needle. It is merely the outer covering, like a lotus flower still folded in its bud." With the skill of a master craftsman, the Bodhisattva gently took the small object from the head blacksmith's hand. His movements were as fluid as a dancer performing. "This is the real needle," he said, placing an even smaller object in the old man's hand, "and this is its sheath." He placed the initial object at his feet, as gently as laying down a fallen leaf. The head blacksmith, with a face as astonished as if he had just witnessed a miracle, took hold of the new object. He mumbled, his voice full of amazement, "I'm sure this must be the needle. There can't be anything smaller." But the Bodhisattva, with eyes twinkling like stars in the night, smiled and replied, "Honorable sir, this too is just the needle's sheath. The real needle is still hidden inside, like a secret waiting to be discovered." Then, with the skill of a magician, he used his fingernail, as sharp as the blade of the most skilled blacksmith, to peel off the outer layer. He repeated this action 6 times, each time revealing a new layer, more delicate and intricate than the last. 6 consecutive sheaths were placed at the feet of the guildmaster, arranged in a neat row like tiny soldiers awaiting orders. Finally, with a face as radiant as the sun emerging from behind clouds, the Bodhisattva lifted a tiny object, almost invisible to the naked eye. His voice rang out, full of pride and excitement. "This, honorable sir, is the true needle." He placed it in the other's hand, as gently as placing a grain of sand on the palm of the ocean. Applause thundered through the space like rolling thunder, blending with the sound of finger snapping from thousands of blacksmiths. Colorful handkerchiefs flew in the air like a flock of vibrant butterflies, creating a vivid picture of joy and admiration. The atmosphere was filled with excitement, as if they had just witnessed a miracle of the metalworking art. In this lively atmosphere, the head of the blacksmith guild stepped forward, his eyes sparkling with curiosity and admiration. He looked at the young man with respect, then spoke in a deep, warm voice full of authority. "Talented young man, this exquisite needle of yours must be more than just a work of art. What other power does it hold? Show us its miraculous ability." The Bodhisattva, with confident eyes and a mysterious smile, gently replied. His voice rang out like a bell chiming in the wind. "Honorable sir, to demonstrate the power of this needle, please have the strongest among the blacksmiths tilt the anvil. Place a bowl of clear water underneath so we can witness the miracle about to happen. Then we will thrust the needle straight into the anvil and you will see its true strength." The guildmaster nodded, his eyes gleaming with excitement. He signaled for a blacksmith with a muscular build to step forward. This man, with muscles rippling under skin darkened by forge fires, effortlessly lifted the anvil as if it were merely a feather. A bowl of crystal clear water was placed underneath, its surface as smooth as a mirror. The Bodhisattva stepped forward, holding the tiny needle in his hand. With a decisive and precise motion, he thrust the needle forcefully into the hard surface of the anvil. The entire crowd held their breath, waiting for the result. And then, as if by magic, the needle pierced through the hard iron anvil as if it were merely a thin piece of cloth. The needle's tip appeared on the underside of the anvil, touching the water's surface in the bowl. The most miraculous thing was that the needle lay perfectly horizontal on the water's surface, neither rising nor sinking even by a hair's breadth. It lay there, delicate and perfect, like a silver hair on a smooth mirror. A moment of silence enveloped the scene. Then suddenly, cheers erupted. Thousands of blacksmiths, from the eldest masters to the youngest apprentices, raised their voices in unison, their tones filled with amazement and admiration. By the heavens, we have never witnessed, not even heard of such extraordinary metalworking skill. This is truly a miracle. The cheers swelled like ocean waves, echoing throughout the space. Once again, the sound of finger snapping resonated like a lively melody, and thousands of handkerchiefs were tossed into the air, creating a sky full of colors and joy. In this atmosphere of excitement, the head of the Blacksmith Guild, his eyes shining with pride and determination, stepped beside the Bodhisattva. He turned to the crowd, raising his hand to signal for silence. As the noise subsided, he called out, "My daughter, come here." From the midst of the crowd, a beautiful young woman emerged. She wore a light blue dress, her sleek black hair cascading over her shoulders. Her eyes sparkled like two stars, reflecting curiosity and admiration as she gazed at the talented young man. The guildmaster, with a solemn and emotional voice, spoke loudly for all to hear. "O talented young man, you have proven yourself worthy of the title of master in the craft of blacksmithing. This is my daughter, the most precious flower of our family. She deserves to stand beside someone as skilled as you. I believe you two are destined to be together." With that, the head of the Blacksmith Guild took a silver pitcher filled with pure water. With a ceremonial gesture, he poured water over the hands of the Bodhisattva and his daughter, performing the sacred ritual of union. The clear water flowed through their intertwined fingers, like the stream of time connecting their destinies. The Bodhisattva and the young woman looked at each other, their eyes exchanging unspoken promises. The crowd once again burst into cheers and blessings, as if the entire village was rejoicing together on this momentous day. Time passed, and life continued with its ups and downs. When the old head of the Blacksmith Guild passed away, the Bodhisattva, with his talent and virtue, was trusted and elevated by everyone to the position of the new guild master of the village. He brought innovations, improved blacksmithing techniques for the entire village, while still preserving and promoting precious traditional values. As the story ended, the Jetavana monastery returned to its initial tranquility. The Buddha, with compassionate eyes and a gentle smile, looked around at the disciples who were listening attentively. He gently expounded the noble truths, helping everyone understand more about the nature of life and the path to liberation. Finally, the Buddha identified the birth story, his voice deep and meaningful. "O bhikkhus, you should know that the daughter of the Blacksmith Guild master at that time is now the mother of Rahula, and that intelligent, talented blacksmith was none other than myself in a previous life." Buddhist teachings from the story The Needle Story. 1. Impermanence and interdependence. The story illustrates how life is constantly changing. From a stranger, the Bodhisattva becomes the head of the Blacksmith Guild through a chance event. This exemplifies the Buddhist teachings of impermanence and interdependence. All phenomena are constantly changing and depend on various factors. 2. Wisdom and diligence. The Bodhisattva demonstrates extraordinary wisdom by creating an intricate needle. This reminds us of the importance of developing wisdom and diligence in our practice. Wisdom helps us see the true nature of things, while diligence helps us overcome difficulties on the path of learning. 3. Karma and its fruits. The Bodhisattva's success in winning the girl's heart and becoming the head of the Blacksmith Guild can be seen as the good fruits of past wholesome actions. This illustrates the law of cause and effect in Buddhism, that all actions have corresponding consequences. 4. Compassion and wisdom. The Bodhisattva not only demonstrates his talent, but also brings benefits to the entire village by improving blacksmithing techniques. This is a combination of compassion, the desire to bring benefits to others, and wisdom, the ability to apply knowledge to help others, two important qualities in Buddhism. 5. Non-self. Despite achieving success and status, the Bodhisattva still preserves and promotes traditional values. This suggests the spirit of non-self, not clinging to personal achievements, but always aiming for the common good of the community. 6. The Noble Eightfold Path. The Bodhisattva's behavior and career development can be seen as an illustration of the Noble Eightfold Path. He demonstrates right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration in all his actions. 7. The Four Noble Truths. The story indirectly reminds us of the Four Noble Truths. The truth of suffering is shown through the challenges the Bodhisattva faces. The truth of the origin of suffering could be desires and ambitions. The truth of the cessation of suffering is demonstrated when the Bodhisattva achieves his goal. The truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering is the efforts and methods the Bodhisattva uses to overcome challenges. Advice for applying to life. 1. Always cultivate knowledge and skills, but also develop compassion and wisdom to use them for the benefit of others. 2. Recognize that everything is impermanent. Don't be too attached to success or failure. Instead, focus on living meaningfully and bringing value to the community. 3. Practice the Noble Eightfold Path in daily life, from the way you think and speak to your actions and livelihood. 4. Always remember that every action has consequences. Sow good seeds to reap good fruits in the future. 5. When facing difficulties, apply the Four Noble Truths. Identify the problem, understand its cause, believe in the ability to solve it, and strive to find a solution.